Let's imagine for a moment what it would be like to live the life of a Roman gladiator for a day. In this video, we will delve deeply into the intimate life of these brave warriors of ancient Rome. If you think their existence was limited to fighting and performing physical tasks, you'll be surprised to discover that there was much more to their daily lives, especially when it comes to their sexual life. Get ready to dive into the fascinating world of Roman gladiators, a topic that will surely capture your interest. If it's your first time on the channel, subscribe now so you don't miss any important content about the darker chapters of our history. Let's begin with life in the ludus, the training school where the gladiators spent most of their time. From dawn until dusk, their routine was filled with intense training, simulated fights, and strict discipline. However, behind this facade of strength and violence, there was a more intimate and human aspect: their sexual life. Gladiators, despite mostly being slaves or prisoners of war, were considered the superheroes of their time, admired for their strength and bravery. In the ludus, their status gave them a certain notoriety, and some became genuine celebrities, desired by both men and women. Within the ludus, sexual and emotional relationships were not uncommon. The constant living together, sharing hard training, and the risk of dying in the arena fostered deep bonds between the gladiators. These relationships not only provided comfort and affection but also helped relieve the tension and stress of their brutal existence. Some gladiators formed intimate bonds that went beyond mere camaraderie. Moreover, the owners of the ludus sometimes allowed or even encouraged visits from women to the facilities to keep the morale high and satisfy the physical needs of the gladiators, who were valuable assets that needed to be in optimal physical and mental condition. The relationships with these women could range from transactional encounters to more lasting and meaningful bonds. Now, let's talk about the intimate life of female gladiators, a topic as intriguing as it is controversial. Although less common than their male counterparts, female gladiators were a fascinating attraction in Roman spectacles. Their presence in the arena not only generated amazement but also morbid interest from the public. When a female gladiator stood out for her skill and bravery, she not only gained admiration but also the unwanted attention of powerful men who saw in them an opportunity to satisfy their desires. In Roman society, women, especially those of lower class or slaves, had very little control over their fate. Female gladiators, despite their fame and skill, were no exception. Powerful men, including nobles and politicians, often took advantage of their status to impose their desires on these women. After an impressive act in the arena, it was not uncommon for them to try to have sexual relations with the female gladiators, using their power and influence to force them to accept. These encounters were a mix of desire and exploitation. Female gladiators, aware of their vulnerable position, often felt compelled to give in to avoid severe reprisals, which could include harsh punishments or even death. Powerful men saw female gladiators not only as trophies but also as a way to assert their dominance and control. Stories of these forced relationships were known but rarely discussed openly, as Roman society tended to look the other way when it came to the abuses committed by the powerful. Female gladiators faced a complex and painful duality. On one hand, in the arena, they were seen as symbols of strength and bravery, defying the limits of courage and skill in combat. Their presence in the games not only impressed with their skill but also challenged gender expectations in a male-dominated society. However, outside the arena, their reality was very different. Now, let's explore the lives of men and women from the upper class in ancient Rome. The social structure was rigid and deeply hierarchical, with strict norms regulating interactions between different social classes. For women of the nobility, becoming involved with a gladiator, a slave, or any man of lower class was not only considered a scandal but also a grave transgression of the established social norms. These women, often married and occupying a respectable position, faced the severe restrictions of a society that valued purity and reputation as the pillars of their status. Gladiators, despite their fame and skills in the arena, were viewed as inferior beings, lacking the prestige and respect that men of the upper class received. Attracted by the bravery, strength, and physical appeal of these men, some women from the Roman aristocracy found ways to challenge the restrictions and maintain secret relationships with gladiators. These relationships were carefully planned to avoid scandal and possible reprisals. Secret dates were carried out in secluded places, away from the inquisitive eyes of society and the husbands of the women involved. Gladiators were sometimes invited to the villas of the nobles under deceptive pretexts or through trusted intermediaries who ensured the discretion and safety of the encounters. Despite the dangers, these relationships offered an exciting escape from the daily routine and the strict social expectations imposed by the era. For women of the upper class, gladiators represented an irresistible mix of danger and eroticism. Living on the edge of death gave these men a nearly mythical aura, and the idea of defying the norms and enjoying a forbidden adventure intensified the allure of these secret encounters. Every moment shared in secret became even more special and charged with emotion, a spark of rebellion in a world of strict conventions. Thus, the intimate life of the gladiators and their interactions with the women of the upper class becomes a story of passion, danger, and a constant struggle against the rigid social norms of ancient Rome. These stories, full of forbidden love and harsh reprisals, highlight the complexity of a society that, despite its admiration for strength and bravery, could not tolerate transgressions against its established order. On the other hand, the sanctions for gladiators could be even more brutal. These men, whose lives were already marked by violence and exploitation, faced severe physical punishments ranging from flogging to mutilation. In the worst cases, authorities could condemn the gladiators to a public execution, using their death as a strong example to dissuade others from following their example. The fate of gladiators trapped in these scandals not only reflected society's contempt for their status but also the desire of the elites to maintain order and control. To illustrate these risks, let's consider a small anecdote that shows the inherent danger of these secret relationships. Sabina, a Roman noblewoman married to an influential senator, found herself caught in a forbidden love story with Marcus, a famous gladiator known for his skill and bravery in the arena. Their romance began furtively, with intense exchanges of glances during the fights, defying the strict social norms that prohibited any type of relationship between the social classes. Defying the risk, they began to communicate through gestures and secret glances, using a trusted maid to send notes and coordinate discreet meetings. The relationship blossomed in secret, far from the curious eyes of Roman society. However, fate played a bad hand. A slave, upon discovering the relationship, decided to inform Sabina's husband. This act of betrayal triggered a series of events that ended in tragedy. And so, our video concludes. We have explored a fascinating and often dark aspect of the lives of gladiators in ancient Rome, showing how their personal lives were intertwined with the strict social norms of the time. If you've made it this far and learned something new from our stories, subscribe and activate the bell so you won't miss our next videos. Together, we can discover and remember the truths that history often tries to hide.